12 years ago today, I checked into a mental health facility for depression. Officially, the doctor said I was clinically depressed and obsessed with suicide. There's a lot of details that went into why that happened in my life. I'm not going to get into the details. But I do want to say it was my senior year in college. It should have been a hopeful season, right? A time of joy, of preparing for the future, of hope. A lot of my friends were getting ready for what they would do once they graduated. But for me, I fell into this very dark, downward spiral. I was really spiraling out of control, plummeting. Felt like this heavy darkness had been pulled over me, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get out. I would hide in my room and just drink a lot, got drunk so many times just by myself, and that's when the suicidal thoughts just started coming in. From the outside, it seemed like I had everything going for me. I was popular, came from a good family, had a lot of friends, good upbringing, so what possibly did I have to be depressed about? On top of that, I was a Christian. I'd committed my life to the Lord when I was like 8, so I'd been walking with the Lord for a long time, so I received salvation. I was going to a Christian college. I was a Bible major. What was wrong with me? It all came to a head one night. I was all alone in my house, and I could just feel this loneliness and despair encroaching upon me, and I decided I can't do this anymore. See, I'd been keeping it a secret. Felt like I was the Christian guy and the leader, and what would people think about my faith? I felt like I had to defend the cross of Jesus, that somehow he would appear inadequate if people knew my weaknesses. But I couldn't do this anymore. So 12 years ago today, I checked into this mental health facility. They call it the admission process. I didn't quite know what I was admitting to when I checked in. I remember sitting there in the waiting room. This nurse came through. I ended up calling her Nurse Ratchet. She came through. I walked through the door. She slammed these heavy steel doors. I heard the door slam. She locked it. Then she walked into my room and started rifling through all my belongings. She put some dangerous items aside, shoelaces, a belt, a razor, because they'd be dangerous for me, I guess. And I felt very violated, sort of stripped down. And then all of a sudden this voice over the loudspeaker said, "Everyone come to group time." And I was like, "Group time? I'm here to see doctors. I'm not going to go hang out with some patients. What possibly can patients bring me? I'm here to get well. Why am I going to hang out with sick people?" But over time, the group time did me a lot of good. You see, I was forced to confront the fact and admit that I needed help. And I was forced and confronted with the fact that I still needed a Savior. I had committed my life to Jesus years before, but I still needed a very clear and present Savior. One day during the therapy sessions, it was the pain I was feeling was just so heavy, and I needed relief from it. And yes, I was admitting my weakness, and yes, Jesus was helping me, but it didn't make it easy. And I remember one day, I went out for a cigarette, and I couldn't stop this pain, these painful emotions. And I pressed the cigarette hard into my hand. Somehow the physical pain felt so much better than the emotional pain I was feeling. So I pressed the cigarette hard into my hand, and it extinguished the cigarette. And I used to look at my hand after I recovered and I got very sad by it. And it reminded me, wow, what a hard, sad time in my life. But now I look at that scar and I see the cross. I see that I'm marked by the cross, just what Pastor Dan was talking about. Because you see, I had accepted Jesus beforehand, but I needed a clear and present Savior just as much as before when I was going through this time in my life. And so today I stand before you 12 years to the day, and I just want to celebrate and proclaim the work of God in my life. It's the same Jesus who's at work in your life. And I want to encourage each one of you that if you feel in the pit, if you don't know how to get out, Number one, admit that you can't help yourself. Start talking to people. But number two, reach to Jesus as your clear and present Savior. You might have received him as your Lord already, but if you're not leaning on him and taking advantage of his healing, power, and grace that each of us need today, then you're missing out on a lot. So nowadays, I look down at my scar, my burn scar. It doesn't make me sad. It makes me so joyful that I have a clear and present Savior. Thank you.